Good morning. First of all, sporting the Tigers for Tatas T-shirt with the Roar, WCCP. So shout out to Quack and all of y'all, Ben, everybody. Appreciate all the love. I think this is one of two. There's two different shirts that are being sold. So anybody wants to get a shirt, WCCP. FM.
TigersForTatas.com.
Okay, they got their own little deal. TigersForTatas.com, and you can get one of these great shirts. You got great shirt, and there's two of them. So really appreciate that. It's an awesome time of year, and breast cancer awareness game coming up next week against Virginia. So a lot of fun stuff. With the Roar this month, and really appreciate the support that they've given. And so anyway, but on to this game. Excited to have another opportunity to just keep getting better. Wake Forest, it's typical Dave Clawson team. Well coached, play hard every snap, fundamentally sound, incredibly disciplined, challenging scheme that's well put together. And they got some playmakers, so there's really not much changed. They do a really good job, and starts offensively. Again, their scheme is unique. There's a lot of things that really challenge you from a discipline standpoint: communication, eyes. A lot of option type principles, and a bunch of shots. A bunch of shots. So you got to win competitive plays. Those of you that were with us up there a couple years ago, that was a tough one. We were very, very fortunate to win that game. We literally made one more play than they did. Got a lot of respect for Wake Forest. How well coached they are, how hard they play year in and year out. They're a tough challenge, and it was a tough challenge here last year. It was 10-6 in the fourth quarter. And we made just a few more plays in the fourth quarter, got the run game going a little bit, and was able to win the game. So, always a hard-fought battle, and don't expect anything different. Again, got a new quarterback this year. Kid's tough. He's old kid, 25 or so. I don't know. He's got a ton of experience. He's played a lot of football. That's very obvious when you watch him. He's not rattled. He's very poised. He's a big, he's 200 and almost 20 pounds, 15, 20 pounds, and he's a good runner. He's a very willing runner. He's not a runner looking to get down. He's a runner looking for the first down and more. So he's impressive when you watch him on tape. He makes a lot of throws. They always, every year we play Wake Forest, they are always one of the best receiver groups that we see every single year. They do a great job of coaching those guys. They're tough. They block, and they really understand their scheme. They really know how to play within the scheme, and especially the RPO game that they have. So nothing's different. They got a bunch of guys out there that can really run routes. They can get open. They finish on plays. Number two, Morin's been there for, forever. He's a really good football player, and he's already taken a punt return of the house too, but he's very, very crafty. They do a nice job. So get after you up front, physical there too. So again, a really good offense that knows what they're doing, and has created some problems for us these last couple of years. And then over on the other side, defensively, a lot of these guys we've seen, but they're a penetrating defense. They move, they get off the ball, up the field guys. They give you a lot of different looks. They'll force you to put drives together. So you've got to, they'll force you to have to be patient and efficient. And then they'll also, challenge you, to have to make some competitive plays. But they really, same thing as the offense, they really understand their scheme, and they know how to execute their scheme. And they're just very well coached on both sides of the ball. One of the best coached teams that we play year in and year out. And so nothing really different. We've got to play well to have a chance to win. And honestly, that's we're looking to just continue to grow our team. I mean, I think, as I said last week, great teams win on the road. Well, great teams also grow, and they continue to get better. They continue to apply the lessons that come, weekly. And so, I want to see us be able to continue to grow our football team, clean up some execution, clean up some mistakes, build on some of the mistakes that we've learned from, and play a complete game. I think we've done that in spurts. We've been really, really good, but not consistent enough for 4 quarters. So we got a lot of room for improvement. But again, I'm proud of our guys, and looking forward to another great road opportunity this week up at Winston-Salem. Any questions?
I think on your radio show you're talking about windshield mentality and preaching that for 30 or 40 minutes in college football last weekend. Helped you do that? Do you actually show clips of Alabama, Vanderbilt, or you talk about those games, or what do you do?
No, I mean, back in the old days you would, but now you don't have to show nothing because they all got it, right? They're telling me about it. Did you see that? Did you see this? I mean, I couldn't believe it when I didn't know anything about any of that until I got into the locker room, but yeah, as I said, college football did us a favor, because this is a week where, if you pay attention to what people say on the outside, well, they're going to be saying, hey, we're supposed to go win. This ain't a game of supposed to. This is a game of what you do. It's a game of performance, and that's why I always talk about. That's why I think we've been really consistent. We've created that windshield mentality for years and years and years and years, and I think we're top 4 in the country in road wins since 2015. Or maybe top 3, and we're best in the country at home, for the last 13 years, and that's because you create consistency in your preparation. It can't matter, and that's hard. That's not an easy thing to establish, because it is hard. These are kids, and there's a lot going on the outside that can really distract you, and you got to show up and play every single week. And that's why we talk about playing to a standard. You don't play to an opponent. You don't play to a record. Like last week, they were 1-4. Yeah, you get caught up in that, you're getting beat. I mean, or what somebody says, and it's the other way too. You can't get caught up in when people. We've won a lot of games we weren't supposed to win. We've won a lot of those too. I've been on both sides of it. You got to block all of that out. And that's it's all about. Hey, we celebrate what happened, or we learn from whatever, good or bad. But man, you got to reset. When this is what you do, y'all are all going to write about what we do. I mean, you're going to report on what we do. You're going to talk about, good or bad, what we do. So let's focus on what we do, not what somebody says, not what somebody predicts, not what Let's lock in on what we can control. Monday, how we meet, how we practice. What we choose to allow in here. Is it adding value or taking away? These are all things that are challenging, but that's what it's always got to be about what's next. That's the only way you're going to create consistency. And honestly, that's what the best of the best. You have a great moment, that's great, but it's never really about that. It's always about what it takes to do it again. That's what you got to love. And you can't love it, if you're playing this opponent, or if you're playing at this time, or we're wearing this uniform, or it's a game day, or any of that type of stuff. Man, if those external things motivate you, you're gonna be inconsistent. I mean, you got to be internally motivated day in and day out to just put your head down and do the work. All right, because that's what gets reflected on game day. It's the work that you put in, and again, this is a good football team. They can line up and beat anybody. And what college football showed everybody last week is just that. It's hard to win. It's hard to win. It's harder to win consistently, and and it's really hard to win when you're supposed to win. Because you got other teams that pay attention to all these things too, and everybody's got good coaches, and there's a lot of parity in college football. So, for us, man, it's Yeah, it's a big message. You know, coming off a really good win on the road. We're just 4-1. I mean, we ain't done nothing. I mean, we're just 4-1. That's it. All we've done is create some opportunity for ourselves, but we got a long way to go. We got to stay locked in and have a great day today, and just try to find a way to keep building some momentum.
Is that the type of things you were referring to, I guess maybe like a month ago, when you said you were having to spend a lot of time reinstilling some of the foundational parts of this program?
You know, always do that. I always do that. I always, you know, do that. But I do think that there's been some, you know, there's been some things with this team that, you know, I've had a lot of opportunity, because these guys, a lot of these guys haven't done some things that they want to do. And so if you want to do something you've never done, you got to do more than you've ever done. So, you know, don't tell me you want to do something. Make sure your habits line up for what you want to do. You know, it's your habits, it's your daily focus that it's got to be greater than what you want to do. And so, yeah, this team has given me some opportunity to teach some of that, because again, you don't have many guys here, maybe two, that have even been in a playoff. So, but you know, these guys are eager. They're eager, and they're about the right things. We've had good preparation every single week. Again, we got great leadership. I lean on that. And you know, we just gotta continue to have that daily focus, and continue to, you know, learn and handle adversity in the game, handle success in the game, and just you know, continue to create consistency, because that's what it's going to take for them to do what they say they want to do.
Mentioned on your TV coaches show, I think one of the starting defense to do a few things differently, like when they had a lead of, you know, it's 23-7, something like that. What do you want to see from the defense there when they're up, maybe y'all are 2 scores in?
Yeah, I thought we gave them a couple of big play opportunities that we didn't need to expose ourselves to. You know, they're against the clock, and you know, we just, I think, needed to probably be a little smarter in a couple of those situations, and not expose ourselves to, you know, just because really the only thing in that situation, they need big plays. You know, they don't have time to just grind it out. So I think we put ourselves in, and really a couple of the calls were really good. We just didn't execute the technique the way we needed to execute the technique. So, and that's just awareness. That's football awareness, you know. And you know, we were down there one year on like 3rd and 16 or something, and we gave up an 82-yard touchdown pass. I think that was 14. You know, put the game in overtime. On 3rd and 16, we're up there playing press man, and we give up an 82-yard touchdown pass. So, you know, again, nothing wrong with the call, but understanding the technique and the situational awareness of what's going on in the game. You know, sometimes you get into games, you got all kind of great game plans, but we got to win the game. Like, you got to respond to what's happening within the game, and you know, where we are situationally. So, but that's just coaching and teaching, and guys having a little more savvy there.
I guess you have an expectation that Stephiylan or Sewell will be in pads, full contact this week.
Who was the first one?
Stephiylan.
Oh, Stephiylan. Both working their way back. They're both day to day and trending in a good direction. So I think we're in a good spot there.
Dabo, with Antonio Williams having a career-high performance on Saturday, how have you seen him really meet or exceed your expectations when you think about recruiting him when he was just a young little zero at Dutch Fork?
Young little zero. His mama will love that. You know, he's always been a really skilled kid, and I think early on, you know, he had some really good success early as a freshman, and I'm not sure that was great for him. Really, a lot of hard coaching with him, because I just didn't feel like that there's so much more there than what he did as a freshman, and I just think he had some growing up to do, and really learning how to, you know, be a complete player at the position, how to play hard all the time, you know, how to really become a craftsman, and man, and if you really pay attention to how I've talked about Antonio since January, this guy's he's been unbelievable. I mean, he struggled in mat drills his first year. It was bad. Bad. And it just, but that was his mindset. And, but he came back this past year, and, he crushed it. He was one of the best we had. He's one of the best leaders in the offseason. He became just, the kid wants coaching, and he's just a product of putting the work in and buying in to what you need to do. Yeah, he's good, but do you want to be great? Well, here's what it's going to take for you to be great. You're not 6'4", 215. You're gonna to maximize what you have. Here's what it's going to take. And this kid has put the work in, man. He plays fast. He is really, really grown with his fundamentals and his technique and just his savvy, his knowledge, his understanding of the game, his understanding of route running, how to influence guys, his breakpoint technique, understanding defense, how to manipulate that, his release technique. He's on his way to being a pro. He's a very, very good football player. He's got natural ball skills. He's very confident, but confidence comes from, consistently putting the work in and paying the price, and he's done that. And then what I'm most proud of is the type of leader he's become. This kid has really become a great leader in that room, and a guy that everybody respects and looks to. So I'm really pleased. He's come. That's the way it should be. You should get better. And if you're about the right things, you got talent and you've got the work ethic with it, you'll get better. And he's just much more of a complete player than he's ever been at any time since he's been here. Obviously, last year he was pretty much done by game 3, and I think that was good for him. I think that was we don't like bad stuff that happens, but I think it probably gave him a little deeper appreciation, and I think he's just playing with a different mentality. So I'm really proud of him. He's tough as they come. He is tough. He's a tough competitor. He's really taken ownership of the punt return game. That's something that he's taken a lot of pride in, and and that's because that's going to be a part of his game as he moves forward too in his career. He's got to be able to bring a little bit of all of that, all-purpose type stuff, to his game. So he's a heck of a player. He'd play for anybody, and glad we got him. And I'm proud of his development. And but there's more. There's more there. He's still got more to do.
With Antonio, you mentioned the early success maybe not being great for him. He and Tyler kind of were thrust into those roles because of who wasn't there and all the injuries and stuff as freshmen. With TJ and Bryant, because you have more guys available, does that impact how you're able to teach them and maybe get them on a better path?
Yes, absolutely. No question. That's the way it should be, honestly. If your freshmen are your starters every year, it's probably not good. You want to have some good players. You want to have. It's not that they can't be great players as freshmen. T.J. Parker was a great player as a freshman, but he had some pretty good mentors and guys in that D-line with him that were able to help him as well. And I think we've got a really good room. We got a lot of guys that can make plays, and you're really seeing that every week. Every week, and you mentioned Tyler Brown. Heck, he's AWOL, right? Nobody even asked me about Tyler Brown, but y'all will eventually if we can ever get him healthy. He's a great player, but everything kind of went good for him last year, and he's just been really battling getting back. And hopefully he can really truly have a full week of practice this week and take another step forward. And but it's just a good room, man, and they're selfless. They're all playing together. We got Adam back, which is amazing, and we were able to. He was ready to go last week. I was really nervous about it, but he was adamant to play. But I'm glad didn't need him, and so we've just got really good leadership there. We've got a bunch of guys that can play. They really like each other. I think we've got 7 guys with TJ now that can start, and that's kind of how we look at that group. And there's a lot of competition. Who's going to run out there first and all that stuff. And then we've got some flexibility on how we can position guys and move guys. Antonio can play anywhere. We got a few of those guys that can play anywhere, and then we got kind of Wesco and TJ that we're like, okay, here's where you are, and we're able to to bring them at a good, healthy pace. And I think that's important for their development and for their future. So it's a again, good situation, good room with good depth that has been a couple years in the works. And, you know, I'm thankful that we've been able to, you know, keep them all together and stay relatively healthy.
I think you mentioned that you're kind of a tough grader when you review film sessions with the team, or with Cade Klubnik specifically. I guess how are those film sessions with Cade? What do you kind of point out specifically when you're reviewing game tape after games?
I mean, just, you know, how he played the game. I mean, it's I mean, what was his command of the offense? His decision making. You know, how was he in the pocket? How did he see the field? I mean, you know, every play he's got decisions to make. How did he carry out his fakes? How hard did he compete? You know, how did he lead? I mean, how did he respond to things in the situations in the game? I mean, there's all kind of things you look at when you're grading the tape. You know, from fundamental technical stuff to the mental side, the decision making. So that's how we grade them.
I guess is a scale to like 0 to 100 for each player, or is it just position?
Yeah, we give them a grade. We give them a numerical grade, and we have a winning performance at every grade. It's different, you know. Like a D tackle, his a winning grade at D tackle is 75%. That's a winning grade. You know, we don't ask them to be perfect, but we need consistent performance. So we have a winning standard at every position. All right, you know, that's just, you know, at some positions it's 85. You know, and up, you know. So again, we don't expect guys to be perfect, but we need consistency in their performance. So yeah, we have a grade, we have a fundamental grade, a technical grade, we have an overall grade that we give them week in and week out, and you're looking for consistent performers. You know, not guys that are here and here and here and here, and that's why you do that. You try to create accountability. You know, you know that's how you grow. You're not going to grow if you don't have accountability. You know, you just stay the same, you know. So we have a lot of accountability within our coaching staff and how we handle ourselves as coaches and critique ourselves but also with the players. And they want that feedback. You know, great competitor, they want it. Most of the time they already know before they come in here, you know, and then there's other times where they want to debate you and you know, like, no. But that's how it's coaching. So you just, because they want, it's important to them. They all want to grade a winner. And when they don't, they're disappointed. And okay, well, here's why. Here's what happened. So, man, let's learn from it, and let's keep getting better. And you know, you see that. Like, I mean, Cade's a perfect example of that. From where he was last year to this year, grading wise, it's night and day.
What about his instincts, sort of short area running? Like, I think one of his big runs the other night was him cutting back.
Yeah, he's just. It's. I mean, He's rushed 185 yards in the last 4 games, I think. You know, I know we had some sacks in the Georgia game, I guess, that took some yards, but he's rushed for 185 yards in 4 games, and that's more than he rushed all last year. So, I mean, he's just the game has slowed down. You know, he just plays at a different pace now than what he was as a first-year starter. And again, you saw it the latter part of last year, starting to take a step in that direction, but now he's just very confident. He sees the field well. He's very confident in making any throw that he needs to make. And the best thing is, you know, bad plays don't mess with him. They don't affect him. You know, I mean, he's gonna have some bad plays, but he comes back, he sees it, and he corrects it. But his ability, I mean, his awareness in running the ball, and honestly, if you watch this game from last year, you know, we were so sloppy in the first half. We were incredibly sloppy, and it was a slow start. But in, you know, second half we rushed for 167 yards, but he had some big plays with his legs off of some scrambles versus some of their, you know, coverage and things that they do. That you know, it was just trying to get that to become natural for him was a little bit of a process. And I think just kind of going through and playing, getting experience, and that's the area he's really, really grown. He's just much more confident. I mean, much more savvy running the ball, and he's, you know, again, just, you know, like the one the other night. I mean, he just saw the coverage, I mean, that's what you hate as a defensive guy, right? When you're playing, you got them all covered, you're playing man coverage, and man, they don't contain the quarterback, right? We had that happen to us too, right? On 4th and 9, quarterback gets a first down. That's how they got another touchdown. We should have been off. We missed a tackle. We're off the field right there, but I mean that's a killer when your quarterback will do that. You know, the best out there right now is probably Mahomes, right? Him and Lamar, those guys will make you pay, and they're two different type guys, right? You know, I don't think you think of Mahomes as a guy that can fly, but he plays fast. He runs fast on game day, and he knows how to use his legs. He knows how to move the chains, and he knows how to make the defense pay. And again, I think when a quarterback can take that next step and really understanding, you know, opportunity with their legs, that's a real benefit to you offensively. And Cade's still got a ways to go. He's improving every week. He's not perfect. There's things every week that, you know, we coach him like, hey man, God, you should have just really sat in here right here. That thing's coming open. You know, that you coach him on, and he sees it. But really proud of that aspect of his game. You know, he's already surpassed the whole year. So that just shows his growth.
What have you seen from the wide receiver blocking, and just how is that buy-in continue to grow from that standpoint?
Well, if you look at our explosive runs this year compared to last year, heck, we're probably have matched that. A lot of that is guys on the second level. You know, whether it's running man coverage off, whether it's making some key blocks downfield, covering guys up, extra efforts. You know, that's how you get explosives in the run game, and we've had a bunch of those. So they're doing a good job. I mean, not perfect, but we've made a huge jump this year. Much more experienced, much better understanding of you know, that aspect of it, and then, you know, good leadership. Guys have taken ownership of that, and so just got to continue to push and you know, make them want to be complete players. That's what I always say, coaching receivers forever. You should impact the game without the ball. Great receivers impact the game without the ball. That's just good receivers impact the game, you know, with the ball. Great ones impact the game without the ball. And I think that's important for guys to buy into that. So it's important. I mean, you have 3 catches and 2 touchdowns, and everybody's patting you on the back, but you played 30 plays, and the other 27, you come in on Sunday and you didn't grade a winner. Everybody's telling you how great you are, but you didn't grade a winner. To me, that's not a complete player. That's asking more of your team than you're willing to give. And so I think you got to coach those things hard, and we do that.
Sammy Brown hasn't played as much the last 2 games. Is that just a matter of who's above them and how well they're playing at linebacker? Yeah.
I mean, he played a lot in the Stanford game. He didn't get in there quite as much the other night. We put him in there, and he had a big bust, gave up a huge play, and so that probably didn't help him. So you got to do your job, know what to do when we put you in there. But yeah, we're not in a hurry to get Barrett and Woodaz off the field. I know y'all are, but Sammy will be just fine. He's coming at a good, healthy pace, and he'll be ready when we need him, and has done a great job.
What about just the personnel decisions that have to be made when you're going against big and you're trying to decide whether do we just leave our nickel out there or go 3 linebackers?
We try to match that. You know, we try to match that. When we get, you know, we've got our base personnel. You know, Sammy starts in our base personnel, and Wade will bump out and play our big Sam, big nickel. But yeah, it just depends on style of play, and then what do they do? Who are those people? What do they do out of those sets? You know, that's all based on your game plan, your film study, and all that stuff. But yeah, we're not gonna ask little people to take on big people if it's that style of play. So that's just part of the game.
For that nickel position, especially when Sherrod and Shelton are in there, can you just give some insight into the difficulty of playing that position? Because one play you could be blitzing, and run support, and the next you could be trying to cover downfield 30 yards, just all the different things you have to do.
Yeah, and it just comes with it. That's where the game is, you know. You've got to have guys that are physical in the run game, because you got to be able to support that, but you got to have guys that are athletic enough to cover. And those guys, everybody's always looking for guys like that, And Shelton brings a lot of toughness. I mean, he's a corner, but he's got good coverage skills, and he's a tough kid. And then Koval's a safety by trade, but he can run, and he's a hitter. He's physical, and so they both bring really good attributes to that position. You got to be a good athlete there. And, yeah, I mean, we ask them to do everything. We ask them to fit into the run game. We ask them to play man-to-man. We ask them to play half field. We ask them to, play the flat. We ask them to carry seams. We ask them to do a little bit of everything. But that's just, I mean, it's not stuff they can't do. It just comes with the position. We ask a lot of everybody at every position. And if you want to, because if you just put a big guy out there, well, now you limit yourself in coverage. You become a little more predictable in what you can do, because you're not going to have Woodaz, cover Antonio Williams in the slot, so they know that, and when they know that, that makes you a little more predictable. So when you have true nickel guys out there, you can have a little bit more disguise in what you do. From a coverage standpoint, schematically, and that's why mostly, most teams you see a lot, mostly 11 personnel, and so if you see a team that's going to play with a lot of 12 personnel, well, you're going to match that most of the time, depending on what they do out of it. A lot of times, people getting 12 personnel just throwing the ball, so it depends on what they do as well.
Physically, you don't see a lot of cornerbacks that look like Ashton Hampton. I believe he just played the most career snaps he's played in his short career against Florida State. What have you seen from his development that's allowed him to make such an impact right away?
Yeah, he didn't get here until the summer, but he's just he's what we thought he would be. I mean, he's very similar to Jaden Lucas, big, long, hard to find guys like that. I mean, they're both like. When you walk up on J. Lou, you walk up on Ashton, you go, whoa, these are corners. I mean, they're just impressive. But he's just his dad's a college head coach at Arkansas Pine Bluff. He's a coach's kid. He just has a lot of instincts for the game. He's played on both sides of the ball. He's done a lot. He's a really good athlete, good basketball player. He played for Charlie Ward, by the way. That was his basketball coach. But just a very conscientious kid. He's gifted. God's gifted him. He's not a normal freshman when it comes to his physical stature. He's way ahead. I mean, physically he looks like a senior. Mentally he's not. But he's really closed that gap. From the time he got here this summer, going through camp, we saw pretty quick like this kid's going to help us. I mean, he's just it's not too big for him. He's not overwhelmed. He's got a lot of confidence, and again, I think that comes from just he's got a lot of knowledge. He understands the game. So still a work in progress, but man, we're really glad we got him. And he's a kid that's separated himself a little bit. And then Strozier's another guy that was out last year, but he's making some progress. And he's not as physically developed as J. Lou and Ashton, but eventually he will be. I mean, he's got the frame, and he just needs to continue to develop physically a little bit. But I'm excited about him. And then Shelton's a guy that hasn't had as much. We got to get him some. We got to keep him going as he practices every day, and he's played a little bit of corner, but we got to keep him going as well because, if you had an injury or something, I mean, he's got to be able to go and get that job done for us. So we got a good group.
Any questions for Coach virtually? Anybody else in the room?
With so much receiver depth, where do you think Misun Kelley can fit in or will fit in?
He's just right now backup slot. I mean, he's just got to keep preparing. I mean, he's just not. He's a really good football player, and his time will come for sure. He got some older guys in front of him, and he's a redshirt freshman. Really hurt him not being able to play last year, because there was a couple, 2 or 3 times he was gonna go be the guy and was hurt, so had to have surgery and so he's still developing. A guy we got a lot of confidence in, but he just hadn't had much opportunity yet. But he will. I mean, he's a redshirt freshman, got it all in front of him, and Jahiem Lawson didn't play either as a redshirt or a redshirt freshman, and then this year he's a redshirt sophomore, and all y'all are asking me about Jahiem Lawson, and that's because he just kept putting the work in, and Tink will be the same way. If he'll stay the course, keep putting the work in, you'll look up and he's gonna make a lot of plays for us.
What special teams units is he working on?
He's starting on punt return, and he's back up on punt. He's back up on kickoff. So he's in the mix on the 2 deep, but just waiting for an opportunity.
You bring up Jahiem.
One ball.
You bring up Jahiem Lawson. You wanted to be a basketball player at first.
Yeah, he and Shaq.
Yeah, I know you like multi-sport athletes. How often do you run across the football?
I love multi-sport athletes.
Wants to be a basketball player.
Yeah, I love the basketball players, man, especially receivers and tight ends, and even linemen that play basketball. Man, I know there's a lot of carryover with that, a lot. I've had some great basketball players that were very kind of average receivers, honestly, that turned out to be great wideouts. Mike Williams. When I first watched Mike, he runs a slant and a go route, and he just jumps over everybody. I watched Nuke Hopkins grow up his whole life. But man, Nuke was a hooper, and he was a hooper. That's football. Yeah, I'll go play football, but he hooped year round all the time, and eventually he decided, I might want to do this football thing, and that's how Shaq was. That's how Jahiem was. I remember very clearly Jahiem wasn't going to play football. He was going to quit. And I told him, I said, no, you're not quitting. He's like middle school, like 7th grade or something. I'm like, have you lost your mind? I was like, you're going to be like 6'3". You better be Steph Curry, and you're not. So you better get your butt out on that football field and then he was going to be a receiver. He was going to play wideout. And I remember that. And I'm like, yeah, enjoy this. You better get over there and get your hand in the dirt. And he didn't want to play DN. I'm not going to be a DN. I'm going to be a receiver. I'm going to be a tight end. I'm like, no, he's a DN. But he's going to be he finally bought into it. Shaq was the same way. Same way. He's going to be a hooper. Shaq was a beast on the basketball court. Woo! Beast. Rip it down and just really good player. But same thing, he finally realized, I better get serious about football. That might be my best path, and it's worked out good for him. But they're similar in that they obviously Jahiem's had his brother. He's had his brother to really learn from, and that's benefited him for sure. But they're both high motor guys, tough, physical. They both have heavy hands. Shaq was that way. They both play a little bigger than they are. But yeah, and they both thought they were going to be, playing in the NBA. So we'll see. But I love Jahiem. He's really grown up, matured, and he's bought into what he needs to do as a young man, what he needs to do as a football player, as a student, and he's just blossoming, hard worker. And you got a little bit of talent, and you got a whole lot of work ethic. Good stuff happens.
We've got time for one more for Coach, if anybody has one.
Coach, the 4-game redshirt rule, now that it doesn't carry to postseason, how do you feel like that's going to benefit your ball club? I mean, this will be game 6, so you'll have about.
Yeah, it was the same. It was the same last year. It actually 2 years ago we used it. We used it for. Cole Turner. We played. I think we held his games and played him right there at the end. But last year they did away with the postseason. So you can have all the postseason. So that was the, I guess, first year of the 4 plus the postseason. So I think it's great. I mean, it's common sense because you have so many kids that leave. You can't even, and it's going to be even worse when they cut the roster to 105. I mean, That's what's going to happen. We'll be revisiting that in a few years. You can bookmark that. We'll definitely be revisiting that because you're going to have a lot of teams that aren't going to have kids to play. They don't have a center. They're not going to have this isn't basketball where you just put a guy over there and say, all right, we're going little. You can't put a corner at nose guard. You can't take your receiver and say you're playing center this week. It doesn't work that way in football. So, that's helped because it allows you to have more personnel with the portal and guys leaving because, all these kids, they want to get gone so they can get somewhere in January, and you got games to play. I mean, every Final Four team had kids opt out last year. So, your playoff teams, your bowl teams, and so you want to play these games, but now your roster is really, really down. And again, it's not about just having people. You got to have position players. It's complicated. You don't just learn a scheme. You don't just take a guy at linebacker and say, all right, you're the running back this week. I mean, you can, but you're gonna have like 2 plays. So it's that part's good because it allows kids to be able to play in the postseason and not count against their red shirt. So we got a few guys that we're trying to kind of manage and maybe hold to the latter part. And then we've got some that we'll just go ahead and play them, as the games happen, organically, with their 4. But we keep up with it because we want to try to be very tactical when it comes to, using those games. But I love it. I mean, it's great. I mean, the unintended consequences, you have guys that opt out, after 4 games. It's good, but there's always unintended consequences. And the intent of that rule was to allow kids to play, get some experience, and not count against their red shirt. And then the intent was to have guys play in the postseason as well. That came about because of all the kids leaving and not having to waste a guy's year. But the unintended consequence is you got guys that'll redshirt themselves and play 4 games and leave. But there's good and bad with everything. Part of it.
Thank you,
Okay, appreciate it.
Thank you, Joy.